Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Logical Nonsense Podcast, episode 50, part 2. We are here excited to present to you today the 50th episode, top 50 hip hop artists of the 2010s through the 2020s. I thought about doing all hip hop artists of all time, and that is just a logistical nightmare. Could not imagine trying to get every single hip hop artist from every era onto a list of 50. So I've narrowed it down to 2010s and on. It's the music that I feel most comfortable discussing and narrowing down. And I also think to a certain extent we praise 90s hip hop. I mean, it is probably better, and early 2000s hip hop a little too much to the point where, that's all you would see in the top, 30. So wanted to get down to just those top 50 or so. Um, let's start off. If you are here, make sure to comment to enter the giveaway. Very important that you do that if you want to join the giveaway. So let's hop right into it. Starting with our 50 through 41, I will be talking about 3 artists per every 10. So let's start off with 50 through 41. Here we go. At 50, I have Cardi B. At 49, I have Logic. 48, Kenny Mason. 47, Lil Baby. 46, Kodak Black. 45, Boss. 44, 21 Savage. Or, yeah, 44, 21 Savage. Gucci Mane. 43, um, Rick Ross. 42, Migos 40 or YG 42 and Migos 41. Screwed up there a little bit, but it's all good. Let's talk about first Logic. Logic, he might not make every top 50 list that you're used to. I think Logic doesn't get enough credit. He's had 3 or 4 albums where I feel were underrated. No Pressure, great album. Um, you look at Under Pressure as well, which was one of his first mixtapes. Even some of his latest stuff with Vinyl Days. Logic is a solid artist around, and when he brings his best game, he can compete with the flows. He can compete with lyricism. Conceptually, he has some work, I think, in that department. But overall, he's a solid artist, and I think he's proven that his best work can compete with some of the best hip hop work in the game. But he's been inconsistent, and that's why he's not higher on this list. I wanted to give him praise, make sure he was on this list. So that was my first one that I wanted to talk about. Um, the second one I have on here, 21 Savage. You know, 21 Savage is an interesting one. And I think the biggest thing about 21 Savage is everyone knows him really for his features. You look at his discography, you look at the albums he's produced, nothing has really stuck out as a super solid album, one that will go down as a classic. Savage Mode 1 and 2 were okay. Savage Mode 2 I thought was a very solid project, but it was nothing to write home about. Savage Mode 1, it was a good mixtape. It got him on the map, got him names, X and um No Heart are some classic songs that will go down as, some of the first gangster rap songs in his discography. But overall, I think 21 Savage, this is about where I think he deserves to be at number 44. I think he is in some ways kind of a modern day Rick Ross. Uh, he is the guy you go to if you want a consistently hard feature, and he's delivered every time. So I, you know, he just released an album. I thought it was okay. I think production wise, soundscape wise, absolutely great. Lyrically, conceptually, if you're looking for that, not the album for you. I think this was overall a solid album, but First, let's shout out to my boy Matt Norling. If the SoundCloud rapper ate shoes, hood certified classic grape soda and Pop Tarts ain't top three rewriting. Shout out to Matt. He has now entered the giveaway. He's the only one in the giveaway. Again, if you have not commented, make sure to do that right now. Um, but yeah, no, I think that's kind of all there is to say about 21 Savage. Some people may have him higher on their list. Again, lyrically, conceptually, and even flow wise, he just doesn't compete with some of the other people. So, you know what to expect from him though. Going to the Migos, you know, they are probably one of the best groups. I think they're the only group I have on this list, looking at it. And Ignite Multisport, everyone go check them out if you're into triathlons. But looking at the Migos, we are I mean, we are in an age where groups aren't that big of a thing anymore. It's tough because you have the Migos, you have Brockhampton, which just broke up. I mean, Migos are done for. R.I.P. Takeoff, but they're done for. Um, there's not really a rap group anymore, and so seeing that the Migos are probably one of the only modern day hip hop groups, I do think they're probably atop of the groups. But in terms of a hip hop standpoint in this list, I think they deserve to be around the 40s. And the reason being is they have hits and they are classics. I think everything from Culture One is great. Culture Two went, it was still good, but it wasn't as great as Culture One. And then Culture Three was kind of bad. They've been another group that was inconsistent. And so that's why I have them so low on my list. But those are my 3, that I wanna talk about from 50 through 41. Alright, going to 40 through 31, we've got at 40, Big Sean; at 39, J-Rock; at 38, Benny the Butcher; 37, Schoolboy Q; 36, Chief Keef; at 35, Baby Keem; at 34, Amine; at 33, Childish Gambino; at 32, Lil Sims; at 31, Isaiah Rashad. So looking at these 10, let me see if I can share my screen this way. No, it's not much better. All right. So looking at these 10, the first one I want to talk about is J Rock. This is probably higher than a lot of people would have J Rock. And some people might even say it's disrespectful to have him above Big Sean. Big Sean is another underrated artist. But J Rock has delivered on almost every feature he's ever been on. And I think looking at that, you have to give credit where credit is due. He has a legendary verse on Money Trees. His album, um, I think, yeah, album Redemption is actually very good and didn't get enough praise. Um, he's had singles that have been really good, and he was honestly overshadowed by Kendrick at TDE. If it wouldn't have been for Kendrick Lamar, think he gets more praise. He is, and some people may say he wouldn't get the attention without Kendrick. Maybe so. I don't know. But I do think J Rock, very underrated artist. He's always been good. So Andrew agrees. We love that. And yeah, so let's go to Childish Gambino. Why is he in the 30s? That's probably what some people are asking. He ranks my list at 33, and it pains me to put him at 33, but really his career is cut short. He After 2016, I wanna say, he really hasn't released much. I guess he released something in 2020, but both the 2016 and 2020 albums were both more pop style albums. They weren't necessarily hip hop albums, and looking at that, if you just look at his hip hop content. We've got Kawaii, we've got um Camp, and we have Because the Internet. Because the Internet album, absolutely great. Probably one of the best albums of the 2010s. But and it had a lot of, influence, pop culturally. I think he blew up in a lot of ways from that album. Um, Another underrated album, doesn't probably get talked about enough. The soundscapes, production, the ad-libbing, and just everything on that album is great, but I think Gambino didn't kinda in a weird way, he kinda gave up on his rap career and really went more towards a pop career. The only other single I can think of after this where he actually raps is um, This Is America, which obviously, that music video goes insane. People still think about that music video. It went viral, and I remember being shocked by it. I think Childish Gambino is a very conceptually sound person when it comes to portraying what he wants to to the world. So I think at that, Gambino, solid artist, short though. Kinda gave up on the career in some ways. He's obviously a very successful actor, and, if he ever comes out again, I think he would rank higher on this list, but for now, we have him at 33. At 32, I have Little Sims. Those of you who haven't listened to Little Sims, go listen to Little Sims. She has 2 very solid albums, and both of them conceptually and lyrically are atop the game. She honestly, in some ways, reminds me of the modern day British Lauryn Hill, if you can imagine that. No Thank You, and Sometimes I Might Be an Introvert, both super, super great albums. Probably some of the best work in the last few years, honestly. She is going to be a pioneer for women's rap, and I think she will set a precedent for lyrically and conceptually sound rap within the women's genre of rap. Regardless of gender, she is a very solid rapper. That's why she ranks so high on my list. I enjoy the soundscape she picks, the production she picks to choose on. She has a very interesting flow to her. Um, and I think if she continues to go down the path of bringing the concepts, bringing the lyrics that we've seen in both of those albums, she'll continue to rise on this list. So that's what I have for 40 through 31. Going to 30 through 21, we've got at 30, Black Thought; at 29, Earl Sweatshirt; 28, Eminem or 28, ASAP Ferg; 27, Eminem; 26, Kid Cudi; 25, Lupe Fiasco; 24, Chance the Rapper; 23, Meek Mill; 22, Vince Staples; 21, Pusha T. So, this is where we get to the nitty-gritty, right? This is where we get into some of the tough ones, some tough decisions. At 30, I have Black Thought, like I said. But the one that's shocking, I think, for most people is Eminem. You look at the 2010s through the 2020s, and Eminem really didn't deliver anything that great in this era. If we were to rank Eminem's entire career, Eminem absolutely would be top 10, probably top 5, and probably top 3, maybe even top 2 or 1. I would have to go back, listen to his discography, really envelop, but this man's influence, if we're looking at his entire career, unmatched. But if we're just looking from 2010 through the 2020s, Eminem, Recovery, we've got Marshall Mathers LP2, we have Music to Be Murdered By, we have Kamikaze, and we have Revival. Of those albums, there are 2 good albums, 1 okay album, and the other 2 are bad. That is nothing to write home about. I think the good albums in this list, I think Recovery it gets a lot of hate on, but it is a good album. There's solid projects on there. Of course, there are some misses on there. That's why I said it's good and not great, but there are some good hits on there. I also think the other good album on this, Kamikaze. Kamikaze, very interesting sound. Obviously, modern day Eminem, which isn't for everyone, but of his modern day sounding Eminem, I think it's his best work, piece of work, and it was the one that surprise dropped. And I remember listening to it and thinking, wow, like maybe we have Eminem back. We haven't seen that with Music to Be Murdered By. Some people mess with that. I wasn't a fan. I think that was in the bad category. Same with um Revival. Revival was also a huge miss. Some people think Eminem is hurting his career by continuing to rap. I don't know how we feel about that. I mean, it's tough because, like, he has such a history of producing like, his start is one of the best starts. His 3-album run to start off with Marshall Mathers LP, Slim Shady LP, and then you go into, The Eminem Show. Like, that's one of the greatest 3-run albums we've ever seen in the hip hop world. But again, we're not talking about that. We're talking about 2010s through 2020s. Does it hurt his legacy? Maybe a little bit so. I don't think people are having as much of a debate of, who's your top 3, who's your top 5. Obviously, there's always gonna be those debates, but I do think he's more consistently in those top 5s and top 3s if he doesn't release some of the albums like Revival and Music to Be Murdered By. So going to 24, we have Chance the Rapper. And this one's interesting as well. I think he has we talked about 3 album, runs. Let's talk about 3 mixtape runs. Chance the Rapper's 3 mixtape run is one of the greatest in my opinion. You have 10 Day, we have, um, Acid Rap, and then we have The Coloring Book. 10 Day, fantastic, very fun. Mixtape to listen to, everything you would want, and, he really made weird sounds and yells cool. Obviously, Chance the Rapper isn't, your lyrically soundest rapper, He's not someone you're gonna go to, but he has some of the most unique flows and soundscapes that we've seen, really, and I think you look at that and you have to praise Chance for doing that. Acid Rap is great. It is so good, the way he's able to bring in the production and, like I said, just all the ad libs he does. He does a great job on this mixtape, and Coloring Book, that was just a cherry on top. That was got more of the public attention. Acid Rap was, like, kind of the one that, introduced you to and stuff like, "Damn, this stuff's dope," and Coloring Book's the one that put the cherry on top. You think of all the hits on that one as well. He has a wide range of diversity in what he's able to do. He has R&B stuff, he has hard-hitting flows if he wants to, and he has just fun songs. Obviously, the reason he's not higher in his discography, he does have The Big Day, which gets too much hate on. That's probably a hot take, I understand that. The Big Day is an okay album. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's whatever, it's not bad though. Like, conceptually, if you wanna talk about concepts, The Big Day is about marrying his wife. Did he talk about that? Did he talk about that journey of marrying his wife and having spiritually a God relationship? Yes, he did. He executed that fine. Does he also have some really bad bars in there? Yes. But you know who also had some bad bars in their album? 21 Savage, talking about shit in his fucking songs, and we're not gonna talk about that? Like, what are we doing here? Like, the the hypocrites want to judge the ones who were okay, like, the ones who have been lyrically sound, like, they give, more crap to, whereas, like 21 Savage, he's just able to rap about whatever he wants and gets praised. It doesn't make any sense to me. Um, I mean, I still rank him down because, of those bars, but I think overall his career has been solid throughout. So you have to give him that credit. And again, some of the most iconic mixtapes we'll probably ever see in hip hop from Chance. That's why he's at 24. At 21, I have Pusha T. Most notably, we've got Daytona. I think that album's incredible. Some people think it's perfect that it's 8 songs. I think, give me 4 more and let's see what it is. I think it could have been so much greater if it was more than 4, uh, or more than 8. And I just wish I had more content from Pusha T. He did a great job on this album, lyrically and everything like that. So, very excited for what Pusha T can come out later in life and, um, if he has anything left. Obviously, It's Almost Dry just came out recently, and that was another solid album, where I look at that and think he still has it, conceptually, lyrically. He's more of a ferocious rapper, and then if that's not your style, obviously that's not your style, but, um, very sound rapper. So Pusha T going to our top 20. We are cruising through this. We got 2 comments though. Here we go. I love Chance, says Paige Franklin. Couldn't agree more. All right, let's go to top 2020 through 11. Here we go. Here we go. At number 20, I have Nicki Minaj. At number 19, I have Danny Brown. At 18, I have JPEG Mafia. 17, I have Freddie Gibbs. At 16, I have Young Thug. At 15, I have JID. At 14, I have Future. At 13, I have ASAP Rocky. And at 12, I have Denzel Curry. And at number 11, I have Nas. So let's start out with Nicki Minaj. So a lot of people don't give Nicki the credit she deserves. Nicki is a pioneer in women rap. Whether we want to admit that or not, she is. You look at the style of rap she has, which is, for politically correct terms, being very confident with your body, and yeah, just women's confidence and that kind of thing. But Nicki is one of the most interesting people because her flows, her voice fluctuations, you know, it became she kind of made it cool to, you know, talk and then go back into a flow and then, do a little bit of singing. She has a lot of diversity in what she's able to do with her voice, and that mixed upon really bringing back it being popular. There is no Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion or Ice Spice or Pink Pantheress or any women rapper in the game right now without Nicki Minaj, and we have to give her that credit. Some people would say there's no Nicki Minaj without Lauryn Hill. Sure, but this is a 2010s through 2020s list, so give Nicki her credit. Paige is loving that comment. So we will go to JID. JID, I mean, he doesn't have a super long discography yet. His first album was in 2017, The Never Story, and then DiCaprio too. He featured on Spilligan with Earth Gang, and then he went and just released probably what should have won the Grammy last year, which is The Forever Story. Not one miss in his discography. Conceptually and lyrically, he is one of the best in the game right now. He is going to continue to make waves in the hip hop world. He had probably the best album of 2022, and I feel confident saying that. There's contenders, which we'll get to with Denzel Curry, but JID is one of the most sound rappers, from lyrics to flow to um, concepts. He has it all. And he can make hits. He makes it sound good. You can be lyrically sound, you can be conceptually sound, but if you can't make it sound good, Nobody cares, and he makes it sound good. His production choices that he chooses are amazing. Go listen to Synonym. Beautiful story. Go listen to Crack Sandwich. Beautiful stories about his childhood growing up in, you know, hard neighborhood and making it through. It's incredible what he's able to do with wordplay. I think he's going to continue to do great things. I think it's one of Dreamville's greatest pickups in the history of their production and their label. And I think he'll continue to make waves with the record label. I wish I could put him higher. I just don't think the discography is long enough to put him higher. So I have him at 15. I expect him to rise. At 12, I have Denzel Curry. And I know what you're thinking. How the hell do you have Denzel Curry above ASAP Rocky and Future? Well, it is a little bit of a hot take, but I do think Denzel Curry is another one that is you look at Melt My Eyes, See Your Future, you look at Imperial, and you look at Taboo. I think those are beating any three albums. I mean, ASAP Rocky is a little bit more controversial. Future, you could argue too, but I think Denzel, like those 3 albums conceptually and the way they were executed are better. He continues to bring the game. Denzel, great artist. I think lyrically, you look at Walkin', some of his greatest hits within Walkin' and Sirens. Oh gosh, what's the other one? I can't think of the other one right now. Just came out. On Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. X-Wing. X-Wing's a great one. So, I think he'll continue to deliver hits. He had a big year in 2020 and another snub from the Grammys. So, I think as long as we get into it, get more Denzel, we'll be a happy crew. So, let's go to our top 10. At number 10, we have are we ready for number 10? We have Travis Scott. Number 10, we have Travis Scott. Now, if you knew me in high school, you would have laughed that I said this. I have not always been the biggest Travis Scott fan. I think if you look at what Travis Scott has done though in Utopia, in which was his latest, in oh, I'm blanking on the name. The album he made 90210 on. Rodeo, sorry. If you look at Rodeo, Birds in the Trap, and then obviously his Astro World, everything he's done has had major influence, especially production-wise. I think production alone, I have to give him credit for the top 10 because of his influence. You hear it, and he has such layered production. He obviously takes influences. He's a hip hop head at heart, and he takes influences from guys like Kid Cudi, Kanye, Drake. I mean, like everyone you can think of. He brings in some of the best artists on his list. And every once in a while, we have great songs such as "My Eyes," "I Know." Maria, I'm Drunk, 90210. He has classics and, Astroworld, not my favorite album. Very highly praised, obviously won a Grammy, and I wouldn't be shocked if Utopia won a Grammy as well. Utopia, I think, is his or not Utopia. Rodeo, I think, is his best album, from top to bottom. Just absolutely great. And if you haven't listened to that album, you need to as well. It's a great album, and I think he will continue to evolve. Obviously, he had some incidents in concert where he has a very rage aesthetic, and you know he was down for a little bit, but it seems like his fan base is back. So we'll see where he goes. Some people may say he's a little too low on my list. I still don't think if you look at a rapping ability, he is competes with the other 9 on this list. He, from a rapper standpoint, isn't great. From an artist standpoint, is great. and there is a difference. So, looking at rapping ability, does he have the full picture of a hip hop artist? Can he rap? Can he sing? I don't think so, and that's why I have him at number 10. Number 9, I have Mac Miller. Mac, man, classic. And we want to talk about evolutions. Mac, starting out as kind of a more frat rapper in a lot of ways, his scene, um, and kind of evolving more into a more conceptual lyrical rapper. Some of his last two albums, Swimming and Circles, were some of the most conceptually sound. I mean, it literally connects the two albums together of Swimming in Circles. You look at projects like 2009, you look at um, Swimming. I mean, like so many great songs, good news. This album is just I mean, Mac, you have to put him in top 10. I wish I could put him higher. Honestly, I think I might have rated him a little low, but I also know that I have a little bit of Mac bias. Matt Norland likes the Mac. Paige likes the Mac. He's a fan favorite for sure. Some of his earlier stuff, I think, while it's fun and it's great music, it's not what you would call like super. It feels a little surface level. Some of his first stuff, towards the end of his career, we see him really blossom into a much more mature Mac Miller. Even like something like The Divine Feminine, where you have a concept of love and falling in love. Not many rappers are able to really grasp that kind of emotion. And he is an emotionally charged rapper towards the end of his career, and he executes that well. But he's still able to bring that emotion. So, Seth O'Brien, all they want to talk about is good news. I mean, good news, good news. That's all they want to hear, right? So, no, Mac is he's he's a fun rapper at the beginning, and I mean, he still has his fun songs. But like I said, I think he has one of the best evolutions we've ever seen, and for that evolution, I've got him in my top 10. Number 8, I have Joey Badass. Both 1999 and 2000. 1999 probably one of the best mixtapes of all time. Another conceptually very sound thing. I mean, the kid was 19 years old or 18 years old and making a he made a mixtape that was better than probably 70, probably 80%, not even 80, probably 90% of the albums that were dropped this year. And he did it at 19 years old. That's insane. And he continued to make things like All American Badass, which is a solid album. Then he just recently released 2000, which is a very, very solid sequel to 1999. Um, Survivor's Guilt, beautiful song. He has those songs, he has the bangers, the emotionally charged. He has everything from flows to lyrics to concepts. I think he's just praised, and honestly, I think he is another guy where I don't see a lot of misses in his discography. Joey, very, very, very great artist. So going to number 7, which might shock. We talked about evolutions. Let's talk about another evolution. Tyler, the Creator. Tyler, man, at first, I remember the Odd Future stuff and thinking Tyler was just a weirdo, and he kind of is, but he's a funny ass dude, and he's evolved and really made some really solid stuff. And honestly, I think as we age, we are going to talk about this 3 album run with Igor, the Flower Boy, and Call Me If You Get Lost. That 3 album run is so, so good. Igor, he made Igor because people said, you can't make a pop album. He made a pop album, and his mindset was, I'm going to make the best damn pop album they've ever seen. And honestly, he executed it pretty well. Earthquake and Puppet and Gone, Thank You. I mean, there's so many New Magic Wand. There's so many bangers on that album. And then we go to Flower Boy, and again, loaded with bangers, loaded with conceptually, lyrically charged content. Um, it just feels like Tyler can do really what he wants right now because he's executing it at the highest level. He deserves to be in the conversation for this era of hip hop. His influence is also being seen, and he's come a long way. You know, a lot of people gave him a lot of hate. You know, he had a lot of not politically correct stuff in some of his earlier rap, and a lot of people didn't like him for it. And a lot of people have come around to his music because of the way he's evolved. He's a multi Grammy winner now, and deservedly so. I'm excited to see where he goes and what he does. I think he is a very, very solid rapper. So let's go to number 6, Lil Wayne. So Lil Wayne, another rapper where if we're looking at his entire career, he's probably higher on the list. I think, you know, Lil Wayne, you look at his discography in 2010 through 2020s, and we've got um the Carter 4, I believe, double checking. Yes, the Carter 4, we have I Am Not a Human Being, 1 and 2, FWA, the Carter 5, Funeral, um, and then The Fix Before the Six, and Welcome to Hollow Grove. The Carter 5 and the Carter 4 are the best ones on this list, and then you could probably convince me on um the second of the I Am Not a Human Being. But the Carters really carry. Again, if this was his entire career, he's higher. But Wayne lately, and I've noticed this, and this is something I've said on my podcast, is Wayne's kind of been dropping lately, which is weird because Wayne doesn't usually miss, but he has been missing lately. Welcome to Call Grove was not a good album. The Fix Before the Six was not a good album, and some of his features have been lacking. But giving him praise, he is my number 6. The Carter 4, are you kidding me, man? Do I need to go through some of the bangers on this right now? Blunt blowing, 6 foot, 7 foot, she will, how to hate, how to love, mirror, up and away. Are you kidding me, man? Who can compete with that? And then we go to the Carter 5. He brings in great bangers on that. He has lyrically charged albums. Mona Lisa, one of the greatest songs of the 2010s, probably. Him and him and Kendrick telling one of the best stories we've probably ever heard on a mic. Oh my god, man, who can compete with that in his wordplay? Moving silent like lasagna. Are you kidding me? He's unmatched when it comes to wordplay and bars. I mean, Lil Wayne, he deserves to be talked about in this list. Very few can match what he can do. He has great flows too. And another guy who knows how to choose really good production. 6 foot, 7 foot, huge sample flip. One of the most iconic sample flips we'll ever remember. So going to number 5, we have Mr. Carter. So Jay-Z, I have at number 5. I think you look at what Jay-Z did in 2010s through 2020s. Another one of those guys that kind of got hurt by it being so limited. 444, Magna Carter, and I think Watch the Throne with or not Eminem, with Watch the Throne with Kanye. I think 444, one of the best lyrically sounding albums of the 2010s decade again. It's one of the first times we see Jay-Z be vulnerable. Talking about concepts of being a father, talking about concepts of being a black man and how that's like. It's very intriguing to see this point of view because we're so used to kind of the mainstream rapper that Jay-Z is, and for him to be more vulnerable on an album like 444 so late in his career, it got so much praise and reasonably so. Great album. should listen to it if you haven't. It's very deep and emotionally charged, and I think that album alone should put him on this top 5 list. But I also think Magna Carta, very solid album. I believe that's the one with where he's got that Justin Timberlake single on there, and um, I just think you got to put Jay Z in your top 5 for the 2010s, even though it's not everything. And then Watch the Throne, underrated album. That collab album hit hard. Yeah, we got Holy Grail, Tom Ford, Oceans, um, all great songs on Magna Carta. And then Watch the Throne, Otis. Um, Someone was in Paris. I can't say who, but somebody was. That's on that album. There's some great bangers on that album. So Jay Z's in the top 5. Speaking of Watch the Throne, coming in at number 4, and something that will probably shock some people who know me best, we've got Mr. West, Kanye. Kanye, 2010s, we got My Beautiful Twisted Dark Fantasy, probably one of the highest regarded albums of the 2010s, not even 2010s, just in general, and reasonably so. I mean, it's from top to bottom. I mean, this guy trapped himself on an island to make this damn album, and reason like it was successful. So we got that album, we got Yeezus, we've got The Life of Pablo, we have oh gosh, the one with Kid Cudi. I can't think of what it's called though. We have Kids See Ghost, Yay, Jesus is King, Donda, and you know Jesus is King, probably the worst one on that album. His worst album from that list is better than majority of the rappers on this list best album. Hot take? Probably. Bold takes on the Logical Nonsense podcast. That's how we do it here. But Kanye continues to bring innovation. He continues to bring concepts, and his influence is undeniable. When you hear Travis Scott using Yeezus sound on a track with Tizo Touchdown, you can see how quick of an influence this guy has had. The way he's been able to bring in auto tune, make it sound cool, the way he's been able to bring in so many different soundscapes, production wise and flow wise, and see other rappers mimic that or want to mimic that, just shows the influence he has had and why he deserves to be in the top 5. Obviously, off the mic, he's had some mental health issues. He's had some blow ups in the media. But as an artist, he is very, very sound and deserves to be on this list and high. Um, I mean, go listen to My Beautiful Twisted Dark Fantasy and tell me that he doesn't deserve to be on this list. Number 3, we have Mr. Aubrey Graham, Drake. Drake is lucky because basically his entire career started in 2010. The man has, oh God, I don't even know. Let's look up how many Grammy nominations Drake has. Um, Drake has, oh gosh, he has won 193 awards, including 5 Grammy Awards from 51 nominations, 29 awards from 81 nominations of the Billboard Music Awards. That's insane, man. Like, Drake is undeniable, whether you hate him, whether you like him. He hit another guy. His discography is great. Uh, you at least probably like at least one Drake song. I guarantee you at least like one, whether you like him or not. Um, let's look through his discography from 2010s on. Thank Me Later, Take Care, Nothing Was the Same. If you're reading this, it's too late. What a Time to Be Alive, Views, More Life, Scorpion, Care Package, Dark Lane demo tapes, Certified Lover Boy, Honestly Never Mind, Her Loss, and most recently, For All the Dogs. Some people say, he's fallen off in the last recent years. Obviously not. He's the most Spotify streamed artist, and for reasonably so. Why isn't he at number 2 or 1? It's probably what you're asking yourself. Well, the influence is there. He's a pop star, and he has had a perfect mix of both pop and rap. I think you look at people who have melded pop and rap, Kanye, Drake, maybe T-Pain, um, really those 3, and you gotta put those 3 in that list, and their influence. Drake will have an influence, but, if we're talking actual content matter, Drake put so much at us. I just read off all those albums, and half of them, not half, probably 3 or 4 of them could go away, and I'd be okay with. Certified Lover Boy, eh. Honestly, never mind, eh. Like, those could go away to me, even Care Package probably, but I just think he's been a little bit more inconsistent than these next 2 guys, and for that, I have to put him at 3 and not 2 or 1. So, good for Drake. At number 2, I have Mr. J. Cole. So, J. Cole, um, what a run he's had from 2010s on. I think he has proven himself as one of the most lyrically sound rappers. He can deliver on any feature, so he has that legendary thing on him. He also, has albums that are underrated. For Your Eyes Only deserves to be talked about as one of the greatest albums of all time. Conceptually, it is great. It is so emotionally charged. It is from personal experience. It is extremely passionate. It brings in bangers too, but it doesn't sound off. It's cohesive. It feels like you're reading a story. Like, that's everything you want in an album. He has that. He has 2014 Forest Hills Drive, probably his most famous album, where you have bangers like, Wet Dreams, and just, oh my God, it's just such a great album. He is such a great artist. Even a project like KOD, which doesn't get talked about much, the concept, and the way he was kind of able to predict the future. All these SoundCloud rappers who were high on drugs all the time. He talked about that and how they were gonna fall off, and he's continuously brought these concepts up before they were popular, and they've aged so well. Even an album like The Off Season, which is his most recent, it's very solid from top to bottom. Born Sinner, the Sideline Story. He has not missed. I'm sorry, but he has not missed, from the 2010s on. He's definitely top 2. So it's just it's beautiful. And, he's a fan favorite. Like, look at all these. For Your Eyes Only. J. Cole, Appreciation. Mr. Jermaine Cole, Solid 2. If I guess number 1, I get a signed album from H. Shoe. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You heard it here first, folks. No, I'm just kidding. But maybe if he wins tomorrow, I'll sign it. At number 1, he did guess it, Mr. Kendrick Lamar. And it might be a boring answer to a lot of people, but here's what I'm going to say to you on this list. What other hip hop artist has won a Pulitzer Prize? There's no one talking. But no one. That's the answer. The album To Pimp a Butterfly is one of the best albums ever across any genre. And the reason being is it's a literal story, but he makes it sound dope. It's so crazy, it's so conceptually complex. He is a legit author in the form of a rapper, and the way we dive into his music and depict little pieces from his lyrics and are able to understand like what he's trying to say. Like we are depicting him like this man is Shakespeare. Oh, like this means this. Oh, this means this. We are lyrically depicting this man like it's like a piece of literature. And it's because it is. He is so conceptually above everyone and lyrically above everyone. And to Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City. You want to talk about another storyteller? Good Kid, Mad City. There's so many bangers on Good Kid, Mad City, right? Like it sounds so good, but if you go listen to that from top to bottom, it sounds like a story still. And that's what's cool about Kendrick. He's fun to listen to. He has bangers, and they're all great. Damn, another great album. Um, the 10 concepts that he has in that one, and bringing that together, and the cohesiveness in that, and then his latest one being extremely vulnerable, which isn't necessarily always a fan favorite, but Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I remember listening to that and just being very touched, like, holy crap, like this man's talking about how he's struggling with his mental health and bringing light to that. Like, that's huge. Like, not every hip hop artist is able to do that. Like, he grew up in a tough environment where that was not cool. He grew up in Compton, California, and was able to preach that, he can be vulnerable, be emotional. So, and, like Matt says, family ties, it'll never leave playlists. It's such, he has so many bangers. I don't know how you could put anyone else at number one for this time period. So, um, that's kind of it. That's all I've got. I appreciate it. It was a much shorter episode than yesterday, but let me know your guys's top 50 list, where I missed, where I went wrong. But I appreciate everyone that tuned in tonight.